Hello everyone, welcome to Dice Commando. Here with the Gongaii crew tonight. We just got done doing our Armory Blitz. We've had 2 of them under our belt now in the Everfest meta, and we're going to be going around and sharing our thoughts. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. So what we're going to do before we get into this, we're going to go around the table. Everyone's going to say their name, who they are, and who they've been focusing on, not necessarily who they think is best, but who they've been focusing on and playing and enjoying since Everfest hit. So Kevin, take it away.
Hey, I'm Kevin, and I've been playing Azalea since Everfest came out, and it's been pretty fun so far. I'm learning a lot with Rangers, so yeah, that's me.
Dreadbore or Death Dealer?
Death Dealer.
Death Dealer, okay.
Yeah, but I would consider Dreadbore for CC, but for Blitz, gotta be Death Dealer.
Got it.
Yep.
Sean playing updated version of Briar.
Consistent, love it.
How about it?
Still good.
Yeah.
I'm Billy. In CC, I've so far been playing Viserai a little bit, and in Blitz, I've been playing Benji.
My name's Steven, and in CC, I'm attempting to play Viserai, and I've been playing Benji and Kassai in Blitz to figure out which one I like better.
Cool. And I'm Archer, and I'm still focusing on Runeblade and Wizard in this new meta.
Nice. So we got a lot of arcane damage around the table. So we've got Arcane, 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 and Arcane. And some people over here shooting sticks at Arcane damage. Fair enough. All right, so the first question I have for the table, and actually we'll start with you, Archer, and just kind of go around. What do you think of the early meta? Have you seen any surprise? What did you expect to be good, and what surprised you?
So I expected like Prism, like most people, to be good, but I haven't really had an opportunity to play against much Prism yet. So I'm like accounting for it in my decks, but then I don't really like have any feedback on whether that's good or not. I kind of thought Star of the Show was going to be Mimi, but played against it earlier today, and it's surprisingly consistent. And yeah, I think there's going to be a build that's like really tuned and doing a specific thing, and that deck kind of scares me.
Probably a sleeper deck, right?
But maybe not anymore.
There's so many different ways you could build it. Who knows, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I haven't played too much CC in person, but speaking specifically to kind of what I've seen, I play a mid-range or aggro Viserai, and the biggest issue that I've had, weirdly enough, is an aggro dash, where they just set everything up and then take away your Skeleton, take away your creepers, take away absolutely every piece of equipment you have in a turn. It's absolutely disgusting.
So you're talking T-Bone, right?
T-Bone.
T-Bone's good.
Yep. T-Bone into a reload their pistol, into a magnetic, whatever the sphere is.
Magnetic Shockwave?
Shockwave, where they get to do the same thing again, or they can T-Bone it again, and you have to block with your equipment again. So there goes your Skeleton. It can be a turn 0 Skeleton gone. Really, really not exciting and not fun. But
so what he's talking about there is the key of breaking the chain so that the equipment returns back, right? So that they can pop it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of what I expected to be good was like similar to what we've heard. Runeblades, Guardian, Illusionist. I think what surprised me though is that no one's really been focusing on Ninja yet, because I feel Ninja's going to be another one that's is going to have some has some legs in this meta, and I haven't seen a lot of people talking about that one yet.
Yeah, I agree. Ninja was at the top of my list, and I agree. I haven't seen a bunch. Well, until tonight, I haven't seen a bunch of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, not even just in, like the Benji Blitz that I think people did kind of identify. Even just Katsu, like new combo lines, and just seems really interesting now.
Yeah, I mean, echoing what most of these guys are talking about, I think Viserai is maybe the best deck right now. That's my thought, but who knows? Lots of smarter people out there than me.
We'll find out at ProQuests, right?
But yeah, I don't know. I'm sticking with Briar for now. I think she's still got legs, so see what's up there.
Still good.
How about you, Kevin?
So for me, given that I also played Briar for CC, I thought that she got some pretty good tools. I mean, there's Rebel and Runeblood, and there's also, I think, the Shrill and Skullhorn. I'm looking forward to using her a lot more for CC. I was pretty surprised at how Azalea got some nice cards. Dreadbore, most notably Dreadbore, and just petite shot, and there's the other the hero that does like lose dominate if he gets it.
Isn't it timidity point,
yeah,
right? Is the new one.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a nice sideboard against like the Guardian and all that. But yeah, I think with Everfest, I feel like Prism, Guardian, and Viscera in particular, like those are like the top 3. I think Briar is still up there, but I think with the errata that she got not too long ago, definitely not like the very top, but I think she can still compete against the best of them. So personally for me, I'm looking forward to using Briar more. And so but at the same time, I do want to buff up my Azalea skills, so that's what I brought in today. So yeah, I mean, that was surprising me. Azalea got a lot of good tools, so yeah. I mean,
got a ton of tools for sure. All right, so fair enough. So we're headed into ProQuest season here in like a fortnight, whatever that is. I don't actually know how long. 14. It's close enough, right? So 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. So with us going into ProQuest, we've seen a lot. It's been suspiciously quiet, which is fair because people are sitting on their tech, right? So what do you guys think people are working on behind the scenes? Do you think it's Starvo, as they've been calling it, which is the Bravo?
That's a horrible name.
It's horrible. But you got to get on the train because you don't want to fight the crowd, right?
I mean, I prefer Starvo more than I prefer Dolcap.
Dolcap? I don't know.
If Dolcap drives the price down, right?
it
you need all you
price
want.
down
So I can pay like $50 for it.
So coming out of that, do we think Viserai? Well, let me propose the question this way: is Viserai and his ability to flex going to put him in the top position? What do you think? You've been Viserai for a long time.
I hate to say. I mean, I think he has a lot of flexibility to where like he's not going to have really any bad matchups going into this meta. So I think he's a pretty strong choice. That being said, I think there's a lot of other strong choices as well, and I think there's actually some counter picks that could mess with the likely top dogs pretty well. Dash actually being one of them, in my opinion.
Okay, so that's a good lead-in. So you said Dash is a good counter. What are the other ones you expect to be countered? Is it Prism? Is that what you're going with?
It's, against Viserai specifically, it'd be Prism and Dash. Just because Prism was already kind of hard for Viserai. I think he got some tools to help with it. But I still think it's a more even matchup now than it was bad for Viserai. But I think Prism still has a lot of good tools against him.
Okay. So now the question I have, and anybody can cope up here for the table, right? So the issue of top tables versus Swiss are two different discussions, right? So you say, for example, Dash. Can Dash get through Swiss to be able to fight Viserai at the top table?
I mean, kind of as mentioned, T-Bone is...
They're going to draw against all the Oldhims.
Right.
I mean, T-Bone is pretty good against everyone. So no one really wants to waste or lose their equipment early on. And it's pretty easy just to do like, if you're running all 9 T-Bones to get 2 in a turn and destroy like half their equipment or make it so it can't block something more more important later. Whether that's enough, I don't know. I don't play Dash a lot, and I haven't actually played against Dash in this new meta yet, but I just think she has good game against the likely top contenders.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so I'm going to go to you as an Earth Briar main. Sure. So what are the challenges you've been facing in the last 2 weeks, let's say, that have changed your, not necessarily deck includes, because she didn't get a ton.
No.
Right, but to be clear, I think she's still really good. But what are the challenges you've been facing specifically that have cropped up in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've been playing Blitz specifically. In Blitz, it's, you just get steamrolled a little bit today, right? Like the Benji, I mean, how many?
So
how
I
many
want to
swings
hit.
did you
I want to
make?
hit on Blitz in a second.
Oh,
But
sure,
So
sure.
primarily for your CC type stuff, what have you been?
Right,
What are you running up against, or just in general, what are you running up against?
Yeah. I haven't played a bunch of CC since it came out.
Okay,
to
fair
be clear.
enough. Fair enough.
But I'm worried about the Guardian matchup, and I'm worried about the Viserai matchup as well.
Yeah.
Those are the big ones that I'm concerned with.
That seems fair. All right, so you've been on Viserai kind of as your learning experience, right? You picked him up relatively recently. So as coming into the fold with him in this meta versus having a lot of reps with other heroes in the past, specifically Guardian, where do you sit on how Guardian stands versus that?
So, Bravo is still ultra consistent, right? One of the biggest issues that I'm facing with trying to pick, do I want to play Viserai or Bravo moving into the ProQuest season? Bravo is ultra consistent. I can pretty much predict exactly what's in the deck. I can count the cards very, very straightforward. But with Viserai, adding the arcane damage is much trickier. The skill ceiling is much higher for Viserai. So while you can play an aggro or mid-range Vis, and you can just throw cards out there and just swing for, Rune Flash for 3 and then 4 Rune Chance, and then, right after that Rosetta, the skill cap became much higher with these new cards, especially with the introduction to, even Drowning Dire or Runic Reclamation. Swarming Gloomveil, don't even get me started with creeper turns with Swarming Gloomveil.
Gloomveil is pretty gross.
It's disgusting, and it's, again, a very high skill cap, but if you, let's say, make a mistake and don't know that something is in your graveyard that you're trying to pull, and you go to pull it and it's not in your graveyard, it's gonna ruin your turn really badly, or it's at least going to put a damper on your turn. But I think Guardian is in a really strong position, especially with the introduction to heave cards and innate dominate cards, because now instead of a dominate effect, you can now instead use a pummel effect. So I'm still torn between the two. I think they're both super strong contenders. One's much more aggro, one's much more control.
I want to touch on what you said about Viserai.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people expected Viserai to show up a lot me included, to show up a lot in the New Zealand, Australian Nats. And they did. I think they had moderate Swiss participation, but you didn't see a lot of them on the top. I mean, Hayden won Australian, but he was the only Viserai, one of 2 in the top 8, and there was only one. I think it was Rahul in New Zealand. He got like 4th or something. There's something to say. Like, Viserai's hard to play, and I think it punishes like people who are just adopting it as the meta deck, and that's why I don't think we saw it really convert very well. And I have been on Viserai since I started playing CC specifically, and I've gotten so much better. Like, I can be a little cocky with it too, because it's like, there's a lot of freaking things to like consider when you're playing it. And so I definitely don't think it's a deck that it doesn't suit itself well to being like a meta deck, because it's not like Briar. You can't just pick it up and
Well,
talk.
it just doesn't set itself to being a net deck, you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, I meant meta in the sense that, like, you're expecting a big proportion of the field at an event to be this deck. It's like, how many of those, can I be confident they, like, are good Viserai players?
I think the difference
Maybe not.
probably is, right, how many people get on it early, right? Because I've played a lot of games. I've never seen a game that rewards reps and skill cap like that before, right? So if people get on Viserai now, we could potentially see him pay dividends, whatever, cliche you want to use in the future. If people try and flip for it, like you say, 2 weeks before whatever they want, probably it's not going to work. So I think that's a really fair. Right, any comments on just meta in general before we flip over to specifically Blitz?
Yeah. Sorry for jumping in there, but I think Chane is slept on. Chane is still super good. I think Chane either even or beats other Runeblades, which is like a meta place in itself, being able to beat the other Runeblades, just because in like 5 turns they're overwhelming anybody. And I think with practice that deck can beat Fatigue, and I think if you think Oldhim is going to be more mid-range, like the Matt Rogers list, I think you have a better chance to set up your Eclipse endgame.
So kind of like in the previous meta where Viscera could be mid-range or OTK, Chane would be aggro or mid-range depending on kind of like...
Yeah, it's like aggro or combo. It's like a different combo, right? You're playing Time Snap Potions, you're playing like a one of Seeping Shadows to like do this big turn. You have to set up now for the Eclipse turn. It's hard, but it's totally doable.
I do think right now all of the top decks are high skill cap decks, right? So like it's going to be hard for somebody to pivot last minute and just be like, I'm on this now, right? Unless they've played, if they're very familiar with what the deck does. You know, you kind of get that to that place if you played it against it enough as well. It's like, oh yeah, I know what this does. But yeah, no, I think, you know, Viscera, Oldhim, you know, those guys are all super high skill cap.
Absolutely.
I think an interesting thing just to kind of add, not so much kind of on the meta, but it seems like we are seeing more and more heroes that can be more adaptable. Because it used to be in the past, like if you saw a hero, you almost 95% knew exactly what the deck contained, what they'd be. Now you see a hero, like, okay, which of like 3 builds are they? And you never really know, and you just kind of have to take a guess. I mean, there's usually that one that's like, it's most likely this, but then if they end up being like the 3rd choice and you're not prepared for it, it can really surprise you. So I think that's an interesting
I think
thing.
you bring up a really interesting point on why certain class traditionalists have been butthurt, so to speak, about certain classes, like specifically Warrior, Brute, and
The ones that basically don't have that
right. So
like flexibility.
Yeah, it's like Brute didn't really get a different play line, right? Warrior to be fair, had 3 play lines based on your hero, but each hero
Yeah, but it
basically
wasn't
had a
about to say,
play
but it's not like, you know, Viscera that could be aggro, mid-range, or OTK,
Right,
or
exactly.
Bravo that can be aggro control, you know, or Dash that can be aggro control. I mean, Brute's just like Rhinar is just Rhinar.
Yeah, Rhinar Crush.
Yeah.
Well, not Crush, sorry, that's a different term in this game, but Smash. There we go, Rhinar Smash. All right, yeah, that's a really fair point. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I got a question. So we all talked about, you know, who's gonna be top tier, but what about like the types of heroes that are you know, like Ranger? Like where's Ranger gonna play? Like are Rangers not gonna have a place in the meta, or are they just gonna be set aside?
Ice Lexi maybe. I mean, control is always a thing.
I mean, I've heard a lot of rumblings that like Ice Lexi is a tough matchup for a lot of people.
Right.
So she might be a good counter pick, depending on but that might be more of a local meta call more than anything. But I'm also not an expert on Rangers.
I mean, Ranger still faces the inherent problem that they are consumable cards to make your attacks. Right?
Yeah.
So that hurts. It does.
I mean, but I've gone, you know, back when Tails was still the meta and stuff like that, you know, and it was just a pure Ice Lexi deck that just, like, I went into it with Viscera thinking like, oh, I can just fatigue out these arrows, it won't be a big deal. But they just had so many pumps with like Ice Quakes and Weave Ice, and there's just so many that I couldn't stop, and a decent amount of them would also then be dominated.
Sure.
Right.
You know, so I think Ice Lexi actually has a decent chance at showing up in top tables.
Yeah, that's a good point because from my experience with Briar and CC, Ice Lexi is the one I have the most trouble with. We had an open night where we were playing, and one of our friends, Matthew, brought an Ice Lexi deck, and I was completely not prepared for that situation. So it's like, okay, wow, this is pretty wild. So now I know, like, okay, if I face against Ice Lexi, I gotta be prepared.
Well, and certain decks don't have the ability to run a higher cost curve, or a lower cost curve, I should say, right? A higher pitch curve. They just don't have that ability. So, you know, that's where your Guardians are really good. Your Runeblades are pretty good at that overall, because worst case scenario, you swing your weapon. Right?
I mean, yeah, I think a pretty average Viscera deck usually has at least 20 blues in it.
Right. So, yeah.
I'm really hoping to see a rogue Kano somewhere in a ProQuest make it to a top 8.
NCC, baby.
NCC.
All right,
There's
so
so
that's
much.
a good transition. So we'll move over to Blitz, and I wanted to start with Archer, who's our resident wizard. So ZTK Wizard. What's the take there? ZTK being zero.
I mean,
turn
just
kill.
play Benji if that's what you want to do.
Just play
right?
Benji. So
yeah.
tonight we had Benji take it down pretty handily. Billy took it down tonight.
It's great if no one brought armor to block with.
Yeah,
That will stop the deck pretty cold in its tracks, but I lucked out in that no one really brought anything like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
We had a really good match, Steve and I, and it was weird because it was my first time playing against Benji. So I was just like, okay, when can I block? Because you had the 2 attacks. I'm like, oh, okay, when can I block? And then,
well, you have no armor because he was on Rangers, so he has no armor.
I mean, yeah. Granted, I had a cross wrap and
Tunic,
but there was times where like I would block with my armor, and then Steven would pump it, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I can do something now. So I use my defense reactions to block, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
Yes, I really wasn't expecting. What is it, 6 or 8 defense reactions?
Yeah, so I
in an
ran
Azalea deck.
I ran 6, so I had 2 Fate Foreseens, 2 Springboards, and 2 take covers. So.
And then please reference the video where he double springboarded Assault to save himself when he top decked 2 springboards. Yeah, that was disgusting.
That'll do, Peg.
And that was just my misplay. That's the worst part. Is if I would have Kadachi'd, I might have taken something out of his hand. But yeah, no, Benji's super fun.
Hindsight's 20/20.
So yeah, exactly. So Wizard today, or in today's world, what's your take? All things, where's it positioned for Blitz?
For Blitz, still really good. It's also going to be one of those, like we're talking about, like high skill ceiling. Like, Kano's not a deck you can just pick up. I do think it's not as daunting as people make it out to be, because there's very simple lines that are pretty consistent. Like Stir Fork is pretty brainless. You just stick one of the pieces in the arsenal and you wait for the other piece to come up. And that's how you win games usually. But there's always going to be like getting over that consistency hurdle with Kano is always going to come down to like player skill and evaluating like when you can and should go for things. I think now with Deja Vu Potion, with Clarity Potion,
Deja Vu Potion.
Yeah, I think Kano is even less reliant on like randomness and more about setting things up, like a lot more opt. I don't think Clarity Potion's as good, but it might have a place. But there's a lot more, specifically Deja Vu. You can control so much more now, and then you get that into like a competent wizard hand, and you can do some crazy stuff. Kano's still good in Blitz.
Fair enough.
Probably always be good in Blitz because he can just break the rules of the game. Other people can't.
Or you can just have a 15 chain link.
Yeah, Benji broke.
Yeah, I mean that's next, right? So Benji, I'll put the picture across the screen right now. So we had your first turn kill, right, with Benji. So you went second, so it was turn 1, I suppose.
So I blocked a little bit of Arcane, but yeah, then drew up. But I mean, yeah, it's essentially once you realize that your opponent doesn't have at least 2 armor in or 2 block in their armor combined, you know Spring Tidings will hit.
Right.
And so once the first one hits, you can break the new mask, the Lynx mask, Vest of the First Fist to get 2 resources, and then Breeze Rider Boost to give all your cards combo, which my deck was, if it didn't already have Go Again, it had combo. So basically once I break that, everything in my deck had Go Again. So you break those 3 once the first hits, and you banish Spring Tidings. If you're lucky enough to then I think my turn was I started with Flood of Force into a Break Tide, which then the random thing I got off the top of that was then an even bigger than that, so that I could instant that in with the 1 damage to opt and get a couple other things, and then it just went off from there. And I had then the Spring Tidings waiting for once I had played out everything I could. Drew, I think, 4 off of it, and then I think I drew my other Spring Tidings then in that form, which is then it just spirals out of control. Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if you could actually like design that any better, banishing the even bigger than that off of it.
I mean,
and then being able to use it.
One of the builds I tried actually did run like a full 6 of them, but I was getting them. I was just messing around on Felt Table. It was too much. I would get them, and then there'd just be turns where I couldn't do anything. So just running the reds felt right, but I mean, maybe the yellows could have a place, because it does. I mean, aside from it replacing itself, it does dig you through the deck faster to get to your Spring Tidings if you don't. Because I mean, if you can never like get one in hand or in your arsenal and you still have mask left, like you break that, they see that one, they try to block that one, but then you still have another one.
Yeah.
So you're almost guaranteed to hit at least one of them. And then of course I'm running, Ancestral Empowerment, Razor Reflex, Lungy Presses to, if they do have just enough block to still get over it.
Yep. Sure. So interesting, right? So we didn't see any Kassais this week, but there's no secret that Kassai is disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I did a practice match against Steven, and it was the armor on Warrior could stop it.
So I think Kassai is well positioned against Benji.
Yeah,
and I think Kassai dies like crazy to Wizard. Oh, nice. Maybe I don't know. Kassai runs well, depending on how you build it, I guess.
Yeah,
you run a fair number
Kassai
of blues,
runs less blues, right?
Because
much more aggro.
I don't, but.
You can be much more aggro.
You can run a yellow line instead of a blue line, or whatever you want to call it. Right?
So, at another armory I went to, we had a bunch of people show up at Guardian, and we did 5 rounds, and I got to the 5th round, we're both 4-0, Kassai versus Kano, and he got me with an Irina's Prayer, a yellow Irina's Prayer, and beat me from that. But then
in Blitz?
Yeah, in Blitz.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah,
that's like me and Chane and CC.
Ran 2 of them. So that caught me by surprise, obviously, right? I'm ready for Sigil, but not that.
Right.
And that was pretty sick, to be completely honest. Luckily, we cut the top 2, and then I just smoked him in the actual grand finals. I just got lucky Kano, where you're just hitting tomes off the top and chain lightning. It's disgusting, but. Yeah, I mean, that deck can go fast enough, and honestly, the Yellow Arena's prayer, I think you should just run Sigil, but the deck's destroyed me.
So going to Earth Briar in Blitz, I thought was interesting because since when did Earth Briar become the consistency deck? Because I feel that's kind of what it is. It's just I'm just going to kind of swing for 7 every turn.
Yeah, I mean, I would have said it's kind of always been that. And that's why I like Earth Briar. At least is it just...
Well, I mean in Blitz, right? It used to be Dorinthea was I'm just going to keep coming, or Bravo was I'm just going to keep hammering. I'm the consistency play, and now all of a sudden Earth Briar's out here on her... Because all the warriors are all playing Kassai or whatever. Yeah. I'm just saying it's just kind of funny, but our consistency play tonight was Earth Briar.
Yeah. The spikes are still there, but for sure,
right.
You can, if you have 2 cards in hand, it's cool. Yeah, I'll just pitch a 3 and Autumn's Touch. I don't know.
Coming for 7.
7 a good enough?
Just a vanilla 7.
Well, I mean, you can also now add Runic Reclamation. It's the same thing. Pitch 3, swing for 7, threaten an aura if they've got it.
Yeah.
It's not a fuse. It's not a fuse card, right?
No, it's not a fuse card, but I mean, it's still a 7 swing for a blue.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when Oak and Old, it's hey, even if you don't get the fuse, it's still 3 for 7, which was good.
Sure. Yeah.
So interesting. So, that's basically it. We've only got 2 Blitz tournaments under our belt here. There's been plenty of other tournaments across the city, plenty of other casual play. So, any other big thoughts, stuff we didn't see tonight, takeaways for Blitz specifically?
I mean, personally, I think all the heroes from Crew got fun things, and I probably will try all of them throughout the different...
Even KO?
Yeah. I mean,
all right.
High Roller, Gambler's Gloves, just
all the
go
cards
for the casino
cards.
I mean, it's a similar thing as did you bring Gambler's Gloves? No? Well, then let's hope I don't roll well. For you?
Yeah. I think Icelander is going to be good.
Yeah, I am surprised we didn't see Icelander yet.
See, she actually seems like she'll be a good Blitz hero. She'll actually have some consistency and won't rely on the gimmicks that some of the other ones do.
Yeah, I just think she's going to be so disruptive. If you're already stretched from a resource perspective, you just pose. If she says, "Yep, here's my ice card," good luck.
I'm sad we didn't get more ice cards that she could use from Arsenal, because there's only 2, I think.
I think that might be the big problem is, I know there's those people out there who are saying, well, of course we weren't going to get elemental cards in this set, and you're in the minority. Everybody thought we were going to get them. So, I mean
in retrospect, I get why we didn't get them.
It makes complete sense.
But I still expected them.
I think 95% of us expected to see Light, Shadow, and Elemental cards in the set, right, to some extent. So, anyway, I kind of forgot where I was going with that. But, I think part of that reason is she didn't get a bunch of new tools, maybe. And, everybody wants to play the new sexy right now. So.
Sure, yeah.
What was your question?
Oh, yeah. So I have 2. So one with Icelander. So I know that she's a young hero, but is there a chance that she'll be like an adult hero later on? Is there?
She could be because they didn't give her a comma.
Oh, okay.
I mean, not to say that that's like the end all, but like they didn't give her a full name, right? She's just Icelander. So
Yeah, if you look at like Benji, it's Benji, comma the piercing wind.
Right.
And if you look at like one of the normal heroes that has a young and adult, Katsu is Katsu, then it's the adult version is Katsu, comma the Wanderer.
Right.
So the fact that Icelander is the only hero that doesn't have a comma, people are thinking, oh, maybe she'll be an adult hero. But honestly, with the introduction of I think the specializations for a lot of those crew heroes, I think any of them have a chance to become an adult hero.
I don't know that rule actually holds firm. It's just.
I mean, we have nothing to really weigh it against.
Yeah, I think after start of the show, kind of all that goes out the window. Right. Like I think it's just gonna be like. That's not a hard.
Well, the difference would be they would carry the same ability to being the adult versus getting
sure,
the
but you can't have some of those crew heroes have the same abilities.
I mean, Kassai in CC would be pretty disgusting.
Myra.
Right.
I mean, it's what I've wanted for a long time. Is Kassai as an adult hero?
But no, like before she would have been gross, but like now, being able to just like tank up and make 18 copper and just go like Lumina, or effectively Lumina, right? Like,
Well, she can only use one of them a turn.
No.
Really any effective.
No.
Oh, I know she can use most of them, but it says your weapon can swing a second time. So if you played all three, you're still only swinging each sword twice.
I think it says twice, right? You can swing.
No,
something
you can
twice.
swing it a second time.
it says a second time.
So you would get the plus
interesting.
and you'd double up on the go again. So really, all you're getting.
Well,
from
you
playing
just taught me something.
10 coppers.
Yeah, but I mean, so yeah, you could. It's just it doesn't seem worth it. That being said, if you did have three, you could just space them out across three turns and still.
So we haven't seen a back. Well, we hadn't seen a back-to-back one, which what you're saying is it's not legal. But
No, it's
did do
legal.
it.
It's just not really worth it.
Okay,
Because it's just
okay.
plus one and
But-
It's just
so-
plus one. Is all it
What
does.
he did last week, he got a turn back-to-back turns, which is just as debilitating.
Oh yeah,
Right,
that's backbreaking.
right.
Yeah.
So
or like a triple cash in off of a spoils turn with your blood on her hands and spoils because you can just keep generating coppers.
The combo lines are crazy. But.
Honestly, Icelander as an adult hero, I think would be super super strong. I think very very competitive.
It's gonna be so annoying. I don't think.
And maybe a wizard that actually has the full amount of health too, right? Because she had 20.
She had 19.
19.
Oh, she has 19.
That's
Okay.
still, I mean, that's pretty. Still
You know, weirdly enough, the wild card that I'm concerned about going into the ProQuest season is a Kano. Because I played against so few Kanos ever.
I got you, man. Don't worry.
Yeah. Let's do some CC games. I'm actually really concerned about Kano because I have no idea what's coming next unless I see a stir or a chain lightning. I have no idea what's coming next. It's just going to be a mystery of arcane damage and run my AB4 and keep one piece of equipment that means anything.
Don't run AB4 in CC.
Well, the exception is some of the Guardians could run it, right? With the one.
Yeah, which is why I don't think you have to worry about Kano and CC because I think Oldhim and Bravo Steadfast as a sideboard card just makes it so you can't combo Guardians anymore, which is the only way to kill them. Briar is pitch stack and OTK combo. You just can't do that because it gives them time to find the Steadfast, park it in Arsenal, and just be like, nah.
So on that note with Steadfast, how do we feel about Steadfast versus Staunch? Steadfast yellow, Staunch blue. They both pitch for 3. They both pitch for 2 or 3. They both cost 3, so they trigger Anathos. But one's an instant, one's a defense reaction.
I would think playing the instance better. Well, I guess it depends on
You
the.
got a lot of Dorinthea in your meta? I don't know.
Yeah.
It hoses Dorinthea. I don't know. It seems marginal. I think Kanos can still succeed by just catching everyone with their pants down. Because if people just
But can they
don't
get
do
through
it.
Swiss that way? That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
You
If
think so?
people just don't flip AB against you, it's just like Kano can go fast as heck. And that's why it could be Briar because Briar you just race it.
Well, the old Briar.
Yeah, sure. But that was the aggregate.
And that's why I was like, actually, so I was talking to you and Adam. I was debating between Aggro-Vis / mid-range Vis or Kano. And I just haven't played enough Kano to make it justifiable to say, hey, I've got the skill cap in 2 weeks. I mean, I play probably 4 or 5 TTS games a day with CC, but I still don't think that's...
Yeah, Kano's rough.
Kano's rough.
And also, you just can't win against Prism.
All right, fair enough. So we've gone through CC Blitz. I haven't even been paying attention, but it feels long enough. So let's go around the table. Any parting thoughts? Any predictions for ProQuest? Who's gonna take it down across the world, right? Collectively. So you've got statistics on your side.
I think you're gonna have pretty balanced. Like honestly, the Tails meta was pretty balanced across all the winnings. It was. Like Briar dominated, sure, but
it was balanced across the top winners.
Yeah, it was a pretty healthy tournament season. But I think in Blitz with the skirmish season coming up, Kano's gonna be insane. And Deja Vu Potion enables so much nuttiness, but also Blitz will be very interesting. I think it's gonna be balanced for both of them. That was a cop-out answer.
I hope to see OG Bravo on the top. I think OG Bravo will make a very good representation with some of the new seismic, even seismic stir, as weird as that sounds, it's really, really strong. Some of the heave 3s, even like the blue, heave 3 for 8, Thunderquake blue, the blue dominates that are out there now. I think that's going to be super, super strong. I'm curious to see if we'll see a lot of Starvos just randomly come out of the woodworks. Because even if you almost run it as a standard Bravo, but with select elemental cards and just ignore his text altogether, it's also gross. But I think we're going to see Viscerai.
But then the argument could be, if you're not going for his thing, the argument could be made, why not Oldhim? So.
Right. I mean, some of the lightning cards, though, Channel Thunderstep.
Well,
I know that sounds super silly. Blink is absolutely ridiculous into Prism, especially. You can blink and then just attack another aura. You can attack and then swing at an aura and take it out. So the biggest downfall to Bravo as it is, if you Right. You full hand, you take out an aura, and you present damage, right? But you do.
Heralding you.
It's pretty bad.
But you look at a standard Bravo, and your options, if they have like a Genesis and a Merciful Retribution out in the field, is
Lose.
or do I try to start this, or do I just go for face and ignore those two and just keep letting them pump out whatever auras they're going to pump out? With Starvo and having the blink and having the Channel Thunderstep and having some of the other lightning abilities. What's the lightning attack from Arsenal? Let's go again.
Surge.
Lightning Surge.
Yeah.
Kind of a.
That's solid.
Yeah. So Lightning Surge into an Anathos, into a blink, into a whatever, into an aura.
Specifically, Crown of Seeds allows them to allows them to filter their hand and get those 3 fuse. That's why it's consistent, because you can pitch your 1 double and then get a chance to. It's
right, and you look at that and you say, okay, so if I played this as a standard Bravo in some capacity, right, same idea behind it, but now I've got the 3 elements mixed in. I've got a lot of different things I can do. I can pivot with the sideboard toward a more control with a more ice-oriented deck. I can pivot toward more aggro with a more earth elemented deck where I've got earth attacks in there as opposed to only standard Guardian attacks. I can pivot to a Prism deck where I sideboard in blinks, because blinks might not always be the thing you want to sideboard in. But now you can sideboard in blinks, and now you can have blinks for, and lead the charge, and zealous belting, and time skippers, right?
You're running out of sideboard here real quick, but no, I follow.
But the point being is you can look at that based on your local meta. So we know our local meta is going to be Vis and Prism. I mean, 100% Vis and Prism. I'd say 40% of the players are going to be Vis. A good portion of them are going to be Prism.
40%, that's a big statement.
That was Adam. It wasn't Billy, it was Adam.
I didn't say anything.
Like, wait a minute, I'm pointing at the wrong person.
All I know is that with a absolutely non-official poll that I did with all of you guys in the Dice Commando Discord, it's probably like 80%.
So there's gonna be a lot of this. There's gonna be a lot of Guardian. There's gonna be just a lot of Prism. You're gonna see the same 3 things come up. So a wild card like Dash, I'm really excited. I want to see what Dash does.
Fair enough. How about you, Billy?
I mean, kind of like was mentioned, I think the top is going to be fairly balanced. I think it's going to be spread across kind of who we've been saying is likely to be top of the meta. But I think they'll all have a decent chance of getting those wins. And I think there will be a few upsets. I think there'll be a Katsu here, a Dash there, Personally, I'd love to see a Boltyn, because I've seen some fun Boltyn lists. I don't think he's great, unfortunately, but I would love to see him do good.
It'll probably be like one of those Middle European countries, somebody pulls down like a Boltyn winner.
I mean, so
rolled the 20-person
I want to play it more, but
The
I
Greece-
saw
the
a
Greece
deck
national.
that's running the even bigger than that with Boltyn, and I played it a little bit on Felt Table, and it feels way better than
fair enough.
I thought it would.
That's good
like,
feedback.
off of just like seeing it. But I haven't played it in person yet, so I don't really know. But and I always liked Raiden more than I did Saber, so I feel like this is a chance to kind of get back into Raiden, maybe at least a little bit. It's not going to be
that's
top tier, but it could surprise people.
All right, what do you think? Earth Briar all the way, or
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I'll be the only one playing it, so it's fine.
so you're gonna win? Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'll just make a hard stance, and I'm gonna say Oldhim.
Oldhim.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Well,
I think other people could win, but I'm gonna say hard stance. Oldhim wins all of them.
Sure.
Solid prediction.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to argue with Prism and Guardian and this, but I'm still gonna play Briar for CC. I hope that there's someone out there who can dominate the scene. But I think one hero that we haven't mentioned is Levia. Levia has been just like silent, radio silent. I mean, she didn't really get much in Everfest. But I hope that she can find her place in the meta. If
She didn't get anything.
she didn't get anything, yeah. She got nothing. I mean, maybe swing big for a club of viability, but I mean,
I
that's,
think you play swing big. That card's crazy good.
yeah. But other than that, yeah. I mean, I just hope there's more upsets than people expect. But yeah, again, Briar. I would love to see her like.
Yeah, well, as we said, I don't think there's any other game out there that rewards skill cap to the same level.
Yeah.
Or I should say reps and skill cap, right? Knowing your hero. So if you've put your flag in the sand and you said I'm gonna make Earthbriar good or I'm gonna make Prism good or whatever it is, you've got a better chance of making that happen, I think, than many other games. So
Yeah. Well, we have two.
Azalea FTW, baby.
I was about to say I'd really like to see an Azalea as
Yeah,
well.
I don't think Ranger's gonna happen, but
I mean, they got a lot of good stuff. I just don't know if it's enough to get them.
You need a lot to go right. You need a lot to go right to make Ranger work.
So you just organize your deck beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, pitch stack, but then you die before you get to your pitch stack.
the problem is while you're pitch stacking, you're dropping your whole hand to defend. So.
Well, unless you have like
Don't worry, they've got armor.
40% of your deck as defense reactions.
All right, folks. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out after the tournament tonight to do this. I just want to remind everybody, Gongaii Games, that's where we're at. That's where we play. Come join us. I've got the schedule across the screen right now. You can come hang out and join us. Actually, they threw us a bone tonight. Actually, the tournament was free entry tonight, just because we're all awesome. We're all super awesome. But anyway, so thank you to Gongaii for doing that, doing it every week. And remember, code Commando10 at checkout, 10% off your order for anything, even if it's not fab related. But hey, it works and it helps support our LGS. So anyway, folks, I just want to thank you guys again. Thank you all for tuning in. And say it with me, folks. Go Commando!